Welcome to the Tuesday Review. I'm Nathan, as always joined by Callum and James in the studio for this bonus episode. How you going, guys?
Not bad.
Not bad. Special bonus episode.
Yeah.
That's
Vuvuzela intensifies.
it.
Yeah, we're just going to kick back for a bonus episode, a bit of a lazy one. Callum recently finished Kentucky Route Zero, and he has his thoughts on that.
Yeah, so Kentucky Route Zero is a game developed by... give me a second. Cardboard Computer and published by Annapurna Interactive. And Annapurna are kind of like the A24 of video games.
Yeah, indie games.
Yeah, they publish a lot of really interesting games. Kentucky Route Zero is interesting because it was originally made for mobile games, and then eventually they ported it to consoles as the TV edition.
It came out years ago.
Yeah, and it was one of those things that was released episodically over years.
Yeah.
But what I find intriguing about the game is it's one of my favorite genres is called the point and click adventure game. You know, like if you're old like us in the studio, you might remember games like the Monkey Island games or Grim Fandango. Games like that. You know, where you control a character and you move to and investigate points
Basically,
on the
you
screen.
click something in the room and the character will go over to it and go, what's this? And then you can look at it.
And then you can talk to people and solve mysteries. You know? So anyway, it's in that vein, except it's a little more
arty.
Yeah, it's a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm having a COVID brain moment. Obscure, eccentric. There's a specific word for it.
Ethereal.
Ethereal is a good one. It's not what I had in mind, but it's a good one. It's essentially a surrealist mystery/fantasy story revolving a man who works for an antique company who has to do one last job, you know, like that trope. He's got one last job to do before the business closes down.
Yeah.
And he has to go to number 5 Dogwood Drive. Sounds simple, doesn't it? Except that to get there, you have to go on something called the Zero, which is a surreal, like I guess a kind of fantastical highway that you can't access through main roads. And it's like this, whenever the word zero is on the screen, because it's all text, so like you talk to a character and it's not voiced, it comes up with text.
Yeah.
It has this like funny little colors on the zero, because it's like it's surrealist in nature, which is a huge part of the game. Is this idea that like once you enter the zero, you leave a part of the real world behind, and everything becomes slightly surreal. Interesting characters, interesting locations, the rules of the world change when you're on the zero, and that's reflected in the art style as well.
Yeah.
So it's like you have a relatively regular art style in most locations, but then when you're on the zero, you navigate through a wire grid kind of thing, and it's spectacular. But the most interesting thing about the game is the characters. They all have their own unique looks and personalities, and the graphic style seemingly looks simple. The characters are made up like kind of like polygon style, but some of the surroundings look like they're painted. Some of them look like they're 3D models, whatever. But it's a very interesting mesh of art styles which blend together seamlessly, but you can also differentiate them. But the characters are super interesting because they all have their own personal lives and thoughts going on. It's like a novel almost, where it's like sometimes it changes perspectives from the characters, and you can see how they feel about what's going on around them. And so you can see the same, not exactly the same scene, but the same sequence of events at different points from different perspectives, which is really interesting. But so the story is a tragedy about that guy, kind of a tragedy, I guess. But it's really interesting. Like I can tell you what happens, but it sounds so bizarre.
Yeah.
Because like I said, since it's a surrealist fantasy, some of the stuff that you encounter is just straight up weird.
Yeah.
But it's such a wonderful expression of it's like mystical almost. You know, the journey you go on is full of strange characters. But like, you know, giant eagles who transport you from one place to another.
Yeah.
A brewery run by skeletons. You know, it's like, so there's one of the two characters are called Johnny and Junebug. And they're a like motorcycle couple. But they're like a band. And so like one of the parts that blew my mind was I went to one of the part of the game is you go to your truck breaks down and they help you out, and you have the option. So the game's open-ended, kinda. So I don't exactly know the limitations of how open-ended it is, but you have you make choices, and those choices dictate how the game plays out. So you're always going to advance the story of the game to get to the next chapter, but the story that you interact with changes depending on the routes that you take. So it's not a linear story in the sense that it's like, you know, you have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Your own personal choices dictate the way the story plays out in the world. which is, like I said, it's super, like, so complicated, but it's such a beautiful game to explore in that way. So you get Junebug and Johnny, and in my playthrough, I chose to ask them to help me when my truck broke down. And the consequence for that was I had to watch them play a live gig at this, like, rundown diner. And it was some of the most beautiful music I've ever heard in a video game, period. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And you have to choose the lyrics, and then they sing, like, a version of the song. But honestly, the music in this game is Grammy tier, honest to God. Like, I would buy an album of the music.
Yeah.
Mind-blowingly amazing.
Is the, you know...
Yes, well, yeah, exactly right. Yeah. But I looked up, I'm like, oh, what's this band? I need to know who this singer is.
Yeah.
Because it was female vocals. It was the male composer using audio tools to alter his pitch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did all the music himself, including the singing.
That's interesting.
I was like, wow.
Yeah.
That's like talent.
Yeah.
Absolute talent. So it's like little moments like that where there will be special effects on the screen that take your breath away. Or the music, which, like I said, like, you know, it brings joy to you to listen to, especially since I have the headset with Dolby Surround and stuff.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's just such a thought-provoking, emotional, heartstring-pulling tale of wonder, you know? That only Annapurna Interactive would, you know, like...
Yeah.
Cardboard Computer, I think.
I remember when it originally came out, and like you said, they were like releasing it episodically.
Being able to play it all in, like, you know, like, I didn't finish it's a long game, right? So I didn't finish it all at once. But being able to play it, consume it the way I did, the perfect way to do it.
I remember it was like they were coming out every once in a while on Steam, and I was like, I really, like, I put it straight on my wish list. I'm like, I really want to play this. I really want to play this. I just never got around to it. I don't really play PC games much, so I was like, and then eventually, like, it came on the Xbox
Switch and the Xbox and the PlayStation.
Yeah, and it's called like the
edition.
TV edition. Yeah, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get that. So I put in, and I just never got around to it. But yeah, I really, really want to play it because it's been on my radar for years.
Oh yeah, look, all the characters are multi-dimensional. They're all kind of sad, but they all see something in the world which is unique. They all get something out of the world and each other, because it's like one of those stories about a traveling group and how, you know, where they come from, how they meet, what they get out of each other. You know, those kinds of it's like a traveling game. Yeah. But like, honest to God, like, incredible. I can't do it justice talking about it, because it's more joyous than I'm making it sound. It's weirder than I'm making it sound.
If you just watch the trailer, you at least get a sense of the art style and that kind of mysterious. Yeah.
So the first chapter was kind of hard to navigate because I didn't understand what the game was expecting from me. But then once you get past the first chapter and you understand the rules of the game, how it's supposed to run, it's like...
That's what's interesting about, like, if you watch a movie, there might be 10 minutes at the start where you're like, where is this movie coming from? Yeah. Why are the people talking so quickly or so slowly? What's this? But after that, you're, like, settled in. Whereas a game, you can go hours and be like, what do I do?
Yeah, because a game expects something from you, physically speaking.
And, like, you might go hours and hours into, like, 4 hours into a game and be like, oh, I get it. I should have been doing this, and then start doing that. Yeah. And then, I mean, I don't do it regularly, but I think there's one time where I just restarted a game after like 4 hours and was like, now I know what to do. I'm going to start again.
Yeah. But so Kentucky Route Zero is a bit tough to begin with, especially if you don't come from a point-and-click game background. Just because the level design is a bit clunky in the first area, but... It's kind of that way on purpose because you have to go underground and there's not a lot of
point and click games can be a bit tricky.
Yeah, there's not a lot of light for you to work with, so you don't kind of see where you're going properly. But after the first chapter, it's smooth sailing. Nice. It's relatively linear in terms of the way you explore the world, but not linear in terms of the way the story unfolds. Yeah. So yeah, if you have the opportunity to play Kentucky Route Zero, which is an old game by now, I'm sorry, listeners.
When did it first come out?
A few
2015?
Yeah.
It was a while ago.
Absolutely recommend. I think it's one of the most stunning pieces of art available on game consoles, period. Like I said, there were times where I couldn't believe what I was seeing. From such a small company, like that's what it's like auteur movie makers, or indie filmmakers can often make things.
Well, Annapurna Interactive are kind of known for that as well.
Yeah, it's like they can make games that big AAA studios would never dream of.
Like they did 12 minutes? Is it with Willem Dafoe?
Yeah, we talked about that once.
Yeah, because it's like movies, right? Big Hollywood studios would never think to make The Whale.
No.
You know, it's the same with Annapurna and games like Kentucky Route Zero or 12 Minutes.
But we've been talking about it a lot over the last few weeks on the show.
Indie games,
Yeah, and especially
AAA
like
games.
yeah, it's just like that's where all the good stuff is.
Yeah,
and it's the same with movies. It's like that's where all the good stuff is.
And we start shilling on Games Pass because they enable companies to make more indie games.
What happened?
Absolutely.
I'm blanking on the game, but it was an Australian game. And I think we might have even talked about it, or we talked about another example of the same thing happening. But the guy was just like, "Oh, it's on Game Pass." They just funded the finished product. Like
they roll a dump truck up full of cash to a guy's house and be like,
"I got
just
like
put it on Game Pass."
solo developer struggling to finish the game. It's taken him 10 years just to get halfway through, and then Microsoft comes up and's like, "Here, we'll give you 100,000 and finish the game, and we'll put it on Game Pass."
Yeah. Well, they did it with, I don't know, I think I talked about it on the show, but it was the similar thing with As Dusk Falls, you know? A smaller scoped game took my breath away. So, you know, narrative focused, comic book style, heist movie, basically, that unfolds. And I'm like, it's such a wonderful time to be interested in storytelling in games when you have games like Kentucky Route Zero, games like As Dusk Falls. Kentucky Route Zero is not a Games Pass, by the way, but yeah, awesome, just fantastic.
Yeah, I definitely have to play it.
I recently, I one level away from finishing Wo Long, which is also a Game Pass game.
2013 is when Kentucky Route Zero first came out.
Okay.
Yeah, so 10 years. 10 years. Sorry, Nathan, go on.
So Wo Long, for listeners, I've been playing Wo Long, which came out on Games Pass. It was like
What's
a
it called?
Souls Wo Long.
I've heard about this.
WO_LONG.
Yeah.
It's just like a Souls-like game for listeners with a couple of twists. It's set in like medieval China, or earlier, pre-medieval China, wherever it is, with the Yellow Turban Rebellion. Han Dynasty. I'm not sure. Somewhere along those. It's basically the Romance of the Three Kingdoms era.
Okay.
Has all the same characters in it. It has a couple of twists, right? With Long being punishingly difficult. It's made by the same studio that did Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice.
That makes sense. Yeah.
It's the combat revolves more around blocking and parrying than it does about like offensive.
Yeah.
Because like when you block, the enemy's kind of their guard level goes down, and when their guard level breaks, you can get in a fatal hit, which is like a big chunk of their health.
Yeah.
So really, it's about timing the parrying.
Strategy,
It's really about timing your parrying and blocking.
Not just mashing the...
Yeah, because if you do, you'll die very quickly.
Yeah.
It's basically just about parrying the attacks to break their guard. And I like it for a couple of reasons. Online is very forgiving. You can recruit 2 real people in playing online to come and help you in most missions.
Oh, okay.
Or you can recruit 2 NPCs, like non-playable characters, computer characters, to help you. And you have a giant roster of, you know, like there must be like 30 characters. You can just choose which one you want to join you. And they each have different equipment, each have different abilities. And so you can kind of play with... It tells you who they work well together with, but you can play with different characters that have different, like, you know, equipment or ability levels. Or there's magic, but it's broken up into different elements. And, like, you can play with all of that kind of stuff. And I enjoyed it because I was able to play most of the game by myself with just the computer allies helping me. But except for the last mission, the last side mission. I finished the game's story. The last side mission I haven't been able to complete because it's crushingly difficult.
Yeah,
and I'm like, Alan, play it. Alan, it's too difficult for Callum. He wasn't having a good time. That's fine. Don't play it if you don't enjoy it.
Like I said, at least in Dark Souls, it's like there's multiple ways that you can approach a battle. Whereas in this game, it's like
maybe you should just start playing it again and I can help you.
If you don't get the dodge mechanic just right, you fail.
Yeah, that's why I don't even.
I'm trying to get Alan to play it because I need someone to help me with this last mission.
Yeah.
Like any listeners out there playing Wo Long, please hit us up. I need you.
That's like because I always really wanted to play Dark Souls, and I just like I'm not good enough, and I don't have time to keep dying on the same thing over and over and over again, and losing all my progress. And
in the meantime, having slightly given up on that for now. Like I finished the main story, I completed the game. It's fine. I've been replaying BioShock.
Oh, nice.
So I'm having a very good time with BioShock, except yesterday it froze and I lost an hour of progress.
What?
Lame.
Yeah. Apparently it's a known issue with the remastered version of the games. But that's
that
okay.
sucks.
I managed, because I knew exactly what to do. It didn't take me that long to get back to it. I kind of focused a bit more and got through it in about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But I'm having lots of fun with BioShock. It's been so many years, so many years since I played it.
Yeah, I got the remastered and I was like, I need to replay it, and I just never did, and I really want to.
And it like reflecting on it now, it has so much, like considering it was released so long ago, it feels so modern. Like it's a well-made game. I'll talk about it when I talk about the game I'm playing. But well-made old games, like stand up well today. Some of the concepts it uses are like things that some games still struggle with today. And it's an older game now, but like it still holds up.
It's so
still
good.
holds up. Like you've got all the different plasmids and all the different like. I forget what they call them, the power slots and all the different ways to customize your character. It's dozens and dozens and dozens of different ways to craft your character, and all the different
to suit your play style, which is helpful for someone like me.
Yeah, exactly. Like I recently got the passive plasmid to go invisible when I stand still, and I'm like, that means everything to me, thank you. Yeah. I'm like, now I can just, while enemies walk past me, I can just stand there and hide. Or like stand there and hide while the alarm goes off. Nothing to see here. Nothing at all.
Yeah.
And it's great. I'm having such a good time. And you know, another thing it does well that some games struggle with is portraying lore through collectibles and stuff like that. So you've got the audio logs. Some games struggle with audio logs.
A lot of games do it, and
they don't all do it well.
Yeah.
But BioShock does it really well.
I think one of the reasons BioShock is such a great game is the world, the lore, and the city under the water,
looking at
and
fishies in the window.
Yeah, and the big daddies and the.
It took me this long. I was trying to stay away from the big daddies. It took me this long to realize that if they have the yellow face, I can walk around them and they're not going to attack me automatically.
Yeah, I think I remember that too. Of like being terrified of them, and then realizing they leave you alone if you leave them alone.
Yeah,
if you attack them, you're screwed.
Yeah. Which is very helpful now that I know like I can just walk around them. They're not going to attack me automatically, which is good. But I found that out today after like, I don't know, 10 hours of playing it. I'm like, okay, cool. I got that under my belt. But yeah, I'm having so much fun, man. It's a great time.
Yeah, I really want I never played the second one.
Me neither. I said it today for the other day. I'm like,
that's another thing. I don't think I ever played the second one.
Because I didn't want to be a big daddy.
Yeah, and I was just like, a prequel? I don't know how I feel about this.
No, you have to play a big, bulky big daddy.
And then I played Infinite, and I loved the lore and world of that game, but the gameplay was nowhere near as good as the first one.
Apparently,
it just didn't balance as well. The powers weren't that
I
good.
haven't finished Infinite, but apparently people have problems with the game's messaging today. Like, it hasn't aged well.
What messaging?
It has something problematic to say about racism, but I've never played the game, so I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's against racism because the whole point of the game is that it's. Yeah, no, I don't. I can't remember.
Which surprised me. Because I thought I would have heard about this before if the game was like, some racism is okay.
If it came out now, like, people will go crazy about it. But because it came out 10 years ago. Yeah. But no, I remember playing it and being like, because it takes place in this utopian American city, but like America in real life, and like most countries in real life, minorities and women are treated terribly there, so it's not a utopia at all, which is kind of the point of the game.
Because allegedly, from what I've been reading, apparently the message in the game is racism goes both ways, and sometimes it's okay. And I'm like, that surprises me.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I
didn't get that from the game.
Okay,
I mean, it's been a long time since I played it.
I don't remember that, but I think it's in one.
Also, Twitter just blows everything up.
No, that's what I was going to say. As somebody who does wade through the cesspools of the internet, I do think it's important to remember that there are a section of the community who don't seem to understand that racism portrayed in an artwork does not reflect the opinions of the people who made the artwork.
Also, a lot of people don't understand subtext. Don't understand a protagonist not being
an ideal.
Yeah, because he's the protagonist of a story doesn't mean he's a good person.
Exactly. Yeah. That is something that we seem to have slipped with a little bit. This kind of subtext issue.
Most people, look, we've talked about it before. Most people are just dumb,
especially on the internet.
Yeah.
I shouldn't probably. I shouldn't probably take.
Probably ignore all
Twitter
that.
says about it.
Not Twitter. No.
Yeah, but that's BioShock was was a franchise where I'm like, they could have probably gone in so many different places.
Yeah.
Now, on one hand, that's a bad thing because you run into ground and they have like a new BioShock every year and it becomes like Assassin's Creed or something where it's like, who cares?
BioShock 2023?
Yeah. But on the other hand, I'm like, it's been so long since Infinite. And while there were similar-ish games like Prey that came out, I'm like, I have that itch of like, I wish there was a new one.
Yeah, I want a new BioShock.
Yeah, there's like a System Shock remake that seems to perpetually always be delayed, on the verge of coming out.
Yeah, one day.
So it's funny, right? Because they maneuvered from BioShock to Dishonored, and like Dishonored is their new baby. And
but then that only lasted 2 games.
Well, it's funny because I was talking to Jake about a game called Deathloop.
That was made by the Dishonored people, yeah.
And Jake was like, "Oh, I'm not interested. You know, it seems very boring. I'm not interested." I'm like, it's just Dishonored 3, right? Like literally Dishonored 3.
Yes and no.
And so anyway, I showed him because he thought it was just some random PvP game. And
No.
Yeah, I showed him. I'm like, no, it's got a story that plays like a Dishonored story where there's multiple ways to get, go
similar
through
gameplay.
And he was like, "Oh, I didn't know that." I'm like, "It's just Dishonored, man." But they seem to be focusing on that type of thing.
They've got that kind of gameplay where you got like a primary weapon and then a power or something.
They might come back to BioShock eventually, but they seem
different
to
companies, man. Take-Two.
Yeah, Arcane did.
Bethesda
Dishonored.
did Dishonored. Take-Two did BioShock, but
my bad.
But they're similar. They're similar. They have similar aesthetics.
Yeah.
I didn't like Deathloop that much.
I watched the gameplay. And I'm like, there are parts of this I like, but overall I can't see myself having.
I think
fun.
my problem with Deathloop is the loop.
Yeah, see, this is interesting, right? Because it's a AAA game, but it's like an indie idea.
Yes,
that's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
But it's not executed as well as it should have been. So the idea with Deathloop, is you have to escape the loop, which means piecing together the puzzle of the time loop mystery itself and how to exit.
Yeah. It's a Groundhog Day thing. When you die, you loop back and...
But the problem is it quickly becomes monotonous when you have to redo same sections of the game again and again. And that's what I couldn't kind of get over.
Also, one of my problems, like I just said with BioShock Infinite, I love the world, I love the story and the characters, but the gameplay, I was like, it doesn't really work. Same with Dishonored, again, different companies, but similar kind of game. It's like, I love the world and that kind of steampunkish aesthetic and whatever, but no, the gameplay was good.
No, Dishonored gameplay was tight.
Yeah, no, I think the story. That's what. Yeah, the story of Dishonored was there, especially the ending. Yeah. But the world, I was like, this is a great world.
Yeah,
and the gameplay was fun.
Dishonored has always been like top tier. AAA kind of the gameplay itself has always been amazing.
Yeah.
Some of the story has been a bit...
the characters are like dull and... Yeah.
The story... Almost like the story is...
It's been so long since I played it. I never played the second Dishonored.
Neither did I.
Neither did I.
I did play the first. But the story is
But yeah, I think that's why the first BioShock is so great. It's because both the story and the gameplay
are both
top
fantastic.
notch. Yeah. And they're both balanced really well.
Yeah, everything's balanced super well. Also, I love the fact that it doesn't punish you that hard from dying, to be honest. Like, I'm trying to rescue all the little sisters.
Yeah.
So you have to take on the big daddies occasionally, right? To rescue the little sister. And, of course, the big daddy kills me every now and again, which is fine. And then, but it doesn't erase my progress. It just, I get teleported to, like, my Vita chamber thing.
Because, there's this idea on the internet for gamers of like if you can't play Dark Souls or Sekiro or whatever, or even Cuphead, these really
difficult
notoriously hard games, it's like, just shut up, you're not a real gamer. And I'm like, I work, I don't have time to die and do the same thing over and over again.
That's why story games are the best.
Being frustrated is not the same as like, it's fun.
Yeah.
Like, I like games that are challenging, but not frustrating.
Exactly. Right. So a friend of the show, Jake, is one of these guys who likes hard games, enjoys a challenge. The new Fire Emblem came out, and it brought our boy Jake to his knees.
No, Jake is like Jake. Friend of the show. Like, listeners probably don't know him, but like, he's a wizard at video games.
He is a wizard of video games.
It's insane how good he is at almost all video games.
You know how XCOM is like the strategy games XCOM? It's a meme where it's like 90% chance to hit your target, always miss. Spyro has the same problem, right? But it's inverse. It's the enemy will always have like it's like a 5% chance to crit you. Or like do major damage, and it always happens. Yeah. And so there's a lot of that element in Fire Emblem with this new game, where it's like the odds are never in your favor, and ignore the statistic.
That sounds more like that's another thing of games that because there's games that are deliberately made to be hard, which is annoying. But if they're well balanced, like as far as I know, Elden Ring and Dark Souls are like well-made, well-balanced games. Yeah. So even though they're made to be hard. But there are other games where I'm like, oh no, this is just poorly made.
That's like Fire Emblem.
And people like to act, oh, get good, bro. Just like,
but you can't get good
it.
Against a percentage that's rigged against
exactly.
you.
And that's what frustrates you even. Like, I understand, like, Elden Ring, okay, fair enough. It's not for me. Yeah. But even though I really want to play it, I don't have time to be punished like that.
Yeah, I can play with it, don't worry.
But there are some games I'm like, no, this is just broken. This isn't hard. This is a bad game.
So, poor Jake, he tried for so long to continue. So the main story chapters, no problem. But there's no way to grind your units to make them stronger so you have like a stronger party overall. You have to do this thing called skirmishes. And skirmishes are bullshit. It's one of those things, like Nathan said, it'd be like 5% chance to hit, and then it hits him every time. Or, his 80% chances miss frequently. Yeah. And then he was telling me he finally quit when this enemy teleported into his units and just wiped out his team every single time. And he was like, how am I supposed to do this? So he was struggling on and off. He's like, I hate it so much, but I love Fire Emblem. I have to finish it. I have to play it. And then one day he was like, you know what? I'm done. He put it down, and what's the game he's playing instead?
Oh, I can't remember.
He was playing another
Something
game.
relaxing.
And he's like, he's loving it.
What's that pet? What's that?
Octopath Traveler.
Octopath Traveler. Yeah, the famous Square Enix RPG on.
But that's still got like turn-based.
Yeah, but it's like a story-based game.
Yeah.
You can
but I thought you were going to say is like that. What's that? Where you're on the island and there's all the
Animal Crossing.
I thought you were going to say something really relaxing.
It's interesting. Finally, Jake has been defeated.
Yeah, if you know a game's hard if Jake has to put it down.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but yeah, because like, see, this is what frustrates. I thought we talked about this one time a long time ago. Like, I love the aesthetic of Cuphead, that
old-timey 1920s cartoons.
I'm just like so on board with it, and I never picked up the game because I'm like, I know it's just gonna punish me.
Yeah, 100%.
And I don't have time.
They're making a cartoon,
and there's this argument on, and I watched a few episodes of cartoon. It wasn't very good. Which was annoying because I'm like, I love the aesthetic, so I don't have to play the game. I just watch
Skinamarink and just keep it on the TV channel.
No, then I'll just watch old cartoons. Sometimes I do watch old cartoons because they have a lot of those old cartoons on YouTube, and I have a few on DVD, I think, and there's some on Blu-ray. Anyway, what was I saying?
Cuphead.
Games that are
like Elden Ring. I really want to play, but I don't have time for that. And there's arguments online of like, should these have easy modes?
Yeah.
Yes, they should.
And I'm like, yes. And I think we talked about I think we had this exact conversation. Sorry for listeners, as a repeat. We repeat ourselves a lot, but at the start of the game, at the start of Dark Souls, it should say, if you click easy, it shouldn't insult you. It should say,
I've just done a 9-hour shift mode.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like, we designed this game to be played on the harder mode, but we understand yada, yada, yada. If you choose this, you're not really getting what the game is supposed to be, and it might be a bit unbalanced, whatever. Yeah. That's fine. That's all you need.
Sometimes you just want to mess around in the world, play the experience, the story. I don't need the challenge all the time.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is it's like I play games that are easy because I get home from work and I just want to play the story and experience the game and get through it, and then so I can move on and not just play the same thing over and get punished and
that's
die.
That's why Kentucky Route Zero is so great. So it's like made up
story-driven games like that.
It's made up of acts and chapters, right? Yeah. So a chapter lasts about an hour. So you can play Act 1, Chapter 1, and you spend an hour of time and you're done. Yeah. And every time you get to a new location, you can just turn the game off. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it saves your progress, kind of. Yeah. But it's like, so you can like break it up. Like, I'm gonna play 3 acts.
Yeah, I played Disco Elysium.
Oh, nice.
Which I loved. I was like, holy crap, this game's amazing. And it's basically you play like a drunk.
It's kind of difficult though in some ways, isn't it?
There are parts of it that are hard.
It's not in
but
like
the game never
not in like dodging or parrying, but it's like
because there's it's no real combat. It's like it's almost point and click, except you can walk around your character. But you're basically like a drunk detective who's like gotten so drunk that he's got complete amnesia.
Yeah.
And you have to like walk around this city, like a fictional city.
It's an isometric RPG.
Solve a murder but also figure out who you are and where you are. And yeah, I loved it. The art style was great, and there's very like the humor was great, and the writing, and it was just so like interesting world.
But don't play it on Nintendo Switch. Apparently, it's broken.
Yeah, no, I've problems with it.
I played on.
I bought it on Switch because I thought, it could be good on my OLED Switch and all that kind of stuff. And then I read that there's a game-breaking bug in it, and you can't. I'm like, and the people that ported it do not care.
That's annoying.
The company that owns it is not scrupulous.
Well, the company there was like a whole lawsuit against the guy who wrote the game, and like they're eating themselves, and like I don't think the company exists anymore.
No, so the two guys who invented the game, depending on who you ask, they either left or got forced out of the company.
Okay, yeah.
And they claimed that they own the IP, but the company that owns Disco Elysium claimed, it's a whole legal issue.
Some
and
frogware stuff going on here. Same thing.
Literally, with Sinking City kind of crap's going on.
Same thing happened with the Sinking. Did you ever play the Sinking City?
I wanted to.
That game is amazing. Yeah, it has a Series S and X enhanced version, which I highly recommend.
Because it was one of those games where it was like, it looks a bit broken and janky.
No, I played it on Xbox. Flawless. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Get it on Xbox if you can.
Yeah.
Get the
I get all I only play Xbox now.
Get the Series
except for one
S,
game, which I'll talk about in a minute.
Get Series S/X version. Don't get the old. If you get the Xbox One version, we don't want to support those developers.
Yeah, you're giving thieves some money.
Okay.
Right? So this game is
maybe
really
that's
good
the version that was janky that I heard.
Yeah, probably was.
Yeah.
So and basically, it's the same thing happened. Is the video game companies like the publisher decides we're controlling this video game now. You made it. You're not getting a cent. It's our game.
They withheld royalties allegedly.
So the developers didn't get paid. So even now they're telling people, if you go on the developers like Twitter page, Facebook, they say do not buy this version of the game where that doesn't support us. Buy the Series S X enhanced version, which they got a new publisher to help them with, and
that's
they
good to know.
Essentially cleaned it up, re-released the game in a much better, stable kind of definitive edition, includes all the DLC and everything else.
Okay, that's good to know because I was interested in that game because it's got this Lovecraftian weird detective.
It's amazing, like 1920s kind of mystery, and you get all these different cases to solve, and it's But it's like 100% in your wheelhouse. You'd love it.
No, I really wanted to play it, but then when I heard it was like Disco Elysium, I love so much, and it's like that kind of like Kentucky Route Zero, like those other indie games, is like just that story driven. There might be a little bit of a mystery, and you just experience it, and it's like.
I tried to play it one time, and then
you don't have to be like super skilled.
Yeah, I got to the intro. I purchased the game. I downloaded it on GOG, which is the best way to play it.
Disco Elysium,
DRM free, supporting the developer.
Yeah.
And then there was a typo in the first paragraph, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
You got full OCD over it.
The only reason is people it's like the best writing in video games, and
you should overlook it because honestly, it blew my mind. Like some of the philosophical discussions in that game, I'm like, how did they fit all of this into one RPG? Like, it must be the most complex, one of the most complex written.
Also, another thing that turns me off, and this is not the game's fault by any means, is I swear to God, the kind of neckbeards who jerk this game off online.
Oh, that's a big problem.
Frustrate me.
But that's a big problem with a lot of any game.
Yeah, they'll be like, it's like
media in general.
It's like some fedora wearing guys being like, you wouldn't understand the philosophy in Disco Elysium.
I'm sure we've talked. I mean, we have talked about it. I know, but whether you're a sports fan or a movie fan or a game fan, there is a rabid kind of toxic part of the fan base that are often the loudest.
We saw when we went to a wrestling show. Let me tell you, they're everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like doesn't matter what you're a fan. I'm sure in the sewing community there are just
sewing elitists.
They look down at you. You don't have a singer.
Yeah. Oh, you don't have a sore thumb from. You're not a real.
You just use the brother accessory.
You don't have the Roman hexadecimal. You know that thing with the
What's that? Rumpelstiltskin? You know the weaving machine thing. Yeah.
Where's your loom?
I do.
Peasant?
Yeah, your loom. Yeah. Only loomers allowed.
Name of the episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I need to play Disco Elysium because
it's amazing, and it's also got a lot of juicy like political stuff that I love. Lots of like funny, absurdist humor that I love.
Yeah.
Lots of philosophical discussions, and just a cool world because it's not set in the real world. It's set in like an alternate universe.
It's really interesting, right? The people who made this game, originally they were trying to make like a Dungeons and Dragons type of thing where it was like a tabletop game, but it was kind of like more modern or whatever. So it took multiple iterations over like 20 years or something for them to get to Disco Elysium.
There's a meta part of the game where you find the abandoned D&D game that they made within the world, and the characters talk about how they tried to get it made and it just fell apart and they couldn't get funding and there was infighting and
you know what the trick is? Don't worry about funding.
Well, I mean you can. It's
so as a quick aside. Speaking about kind of like futuristic-esque, interesting isometric RPGs, I found out recently, and this is not news from anyone who pays attention, that Microsoft owns the Shadowrun franchise, which blew my mind. I had no idea.
Isn't there a new one coming out soon?
They did
one that came out recently.
Yeah, they did an enhanced trilogy release.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking.
But yeah, it's just one of those things that Microsoft own and just don't use.
They
also own MechWarrior.
A lot of stuff. Oh, they need to release a new.
I think they own Mech. It's like either MechWarrior or Mech Assault.
I was gonna say they need to release a new one, but isn't there like a bunch of those games?
Yeah, but I'm sorry about that. I'm like interesting isometric RPGs that Microsoft randomly own.
Yeah, there are a lot of companies, who even with movies where you're like, oh, they own the rights to that. Why aren't they using it? Kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly right.
And then when they eventually do use it, it's usually for some sort of cash grab or cheap.
Going back to our indie discussion, the problem is games too expensive these days. If every game costs you $100 million to make, you're not going to make very many.
Well, so this is a slightly different thing, but a really interesting way to think about video games. Recently, there's been more information about the Suicide Squad game released, and people were very upset to see that the Suicide Squad game relies on a battle pass. And there was much conversation online about it, and people saying, "Oh, but everyone knows battle passes suck now. We're in the year 2023. No one cares about battle passes."
Yeah, but the game is probably made.
No, that's what I was going to get at.
Years
already.
The guy was like, so what people don't understand is that by the time you hear about a game, chances are it's been in concept development for like a year by that point.
Even more,
probably 2-3 years sometimes.
5 sometimes.
Yeah.
How long has Starfield been in development?
Yeah. No, but games like AAAs these days take up to 10 years to be developed and released. So by the time you hear about a game, it's like being built on things that were popular 5 to 6 years previous.
Yeah.
So it's like 5 to 6 years ago, battle passes were everywhere. Everyone wanted a battle pass. People love battle passes.
But also at the end of the day, people pay for that crap, and that's why companies keep doing it.
But yeah, so you release this information about this game, and people are like, oh, battle passes are so over. It's like fashion. It's like so over.
Yeah.
Oh boy, just wait until we talk about NFTs.
Oh yeah, oh my god.
Can I?
Before we go on a rant,
I'll talk about the game I've been playing, and then I'll talk about
please.
NFTs because NFTs has ruined video games.
Because we'll get sad real quick.
Okay, so I don't have a lot of time to play video games, but I try to every Saturday put a couple hours into whatever I'm playing. And the Metroid Prime Remastered came out.
Yep.
And I jumped on that because I'd never played that game before and I always wanted to. And this was the perfect opportunity. They finally remastered the original GameCube game, 20 years old game, but remastered it for the Nintendo Switch. And even though I'm just basically only playing my Xbox One X now, Xbox Series X, the names are so bad.
Apparently it is amazing.
Yes. So this is the one game where I'm like, got to get dust off the Switch because everyone's been saying this is awesome. And I got it. Oh, like it's got to be one of the best games. I haven't finished it yet, but it's got to be one of the best games I've played.
And apparently...
And it's like we were talking earlier. A good game 20 years ago is still a good game now.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's remastered and you can play it with the modern controller, so that helps. But it's just so well designed. The level design is amazing.
Apparently, it's one of the best remasters for the Switch ever, if not the best. It's one of the best running games and looking games on the console.
They got it running at 60 FPS, which, as far as I know, they didn't, like no other Switch game does.
Yeah, it's solid. It's solid 60 frames a second locked at 1080p.
Yeah, I've had no problem.
Crazy.
I've had no
and
problems.
and it's like 720p handheld mode, like locked.
Yeah,
60 locked.
I've had no problems playing it.
And it's been like 5 years in development. Like it got delayed, but like over a year.
Yeah.
And apparently you can see where that time went. It's like polished.
There are so many original games that aren't remasters that are garbage, and there are so many remasters.
Hot take, looking at you, Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Like you try and play that game on handheld.
It's
like 15 frames a second.
Dock mode was okay. I didn't really have too many problems.
Yeah, but you know what? The game shouldn't be running at 15 frames a second. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's meant to be a hybrid console, at least run acceptably.
Yeah, but like original games is one thing, but like remasters, there's so many where they just
drop the ball. Yeah.
Like really drop the ball of like taking this beloved game and just like airbrushing it slightly so it looks slightly more modern, and it just falling apart and like losing all the magic and sometimes not even working. But this is
they re-released Legend of Dragoon and they kept the game-breaking bugs in, and then there was all
authentic.
I guess you can't can't argue with that.
After much complaining on the net, they fixed it.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, please continue.
But this is a perfect example of like remastering a game. You leave
they
everything.
Did it with care.
You leave everything perfectly intact. You don't change anything about the game, but you make it run as best as it can. You make it look as best as it can. You change the controls so you can play either classic controls or new controls. You like, this is how you do it.
You know what I think the difference is? I think the difference is that for PlayStation, at least, when they re-release a game, like an older game, it's just emulation.
Yeah.
Whereas in this instance, it's a lovingly crafted port.
There's different types of remasters as well. Yeah, this one seems to.
Or you do it like Microsoft and you do backwards compatible, which is technically emulation, but they use the actual. It's not
upscaling.
It's upscaling.
So
FPS
it's like the
boost,
original game, but
it looks better, plays better. It's like artificially enhanced.
That's
it's not a remaster, but it's like
that's not a remaster.
Might as well be.
It's emulated the right way where you can make it look better.
Yeah. But just in terms of the game, as someone who never played it when it came out, and I've only ever played Super Metroid, which I never finished because those games are damn hard.
Yeah, they are.
But yeah, like I always wanted to play Metroid Prime, never did. Never played it when it came out 20 years ago. Never played it even until now in the remaster version. And it's amazing how much nostalgia I feel for it, because it's that kind of type of early 2000s game. The music, the graphics, the gameplay. If I feel like I've known it before, and so I get nostalgia playing it, even though I've never played it before.
Because it probably influenced so many games.
And it's also just that at that time, the games that were coming out were all felt like this. I mean,
it goes back to what we were saying about why BioShock's so good as well. It's like it's a tight, story-driven,
good
kind
design
of game,
principles,
good, well-designed. Before before microtransactions got involved,
and before,
you know what I mean?
Also before every game had to be cinematic and like a movie, you know. Games used to be like like Samus, the main character of Metroid Prime, doesn't even have a voice. Actually, there's no voice acting in the game. Like, the story is just you land on a planet and you're looking for a thing, and there's aliens and you fight them and whatever. And there's no real long cut scenes. And, you know, even though I love story-driven games and cinematic games, it was a time in gaming where it was just like, this is about the gameplay and the world and the atmosphere. And
the exploration.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, you know, Metroid games are known for their level design and the way parts will be blocked off until you explore
the correct tool.
Yeah, you explore another part of the map and get it the correct tool or upgrade and come back. And then once you get to that, then you hit a wall there and you have to go. And there's a lot of backtracking, but it's so well designed and fun to explore.
Yeah.
And, you know, just such a fun game to play. And so even though I've only had a chance to play a couple, 2-3 hours once every Saturday, I just have so fun.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about.
And because it doesn't really have an engaging story in that way, I don't really have to remember certain things. It's just you get back into the action.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good. So damn good.
Yeah, I've heard great things. All right, let's drag it down a bit.
Okay, let's end on a bad, sad note.
Well, let's talk about one thing first. NFTs. All right, Square Enix is doubling NFTs. They have a new game coming out where like your character is an NFT basically.
I don't care.
And like the company's already struggling, and they're doubling down. And basically,
I think we talked about where they sold off all their third-party games like Tomb Raider,
group,
just to like focus on NFTs.
I said, well, this all starts really with Marvel's Avengers, which cost them what $200 million or something, and they lost it all.
Look, I'm not.
That's what happens when you make a meh game.
I'm not a smart man, but there is one thing I know. If you make a story-driven Avengers game with no bullshit, it'll make a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's
but
what
they filled it with bullshit.
With the Suicide, the Marvel's Avengers came out and it was like meh, and then Suicide Squad's about to come out and everyone's excited. I'm like, it's just gonna be like Marvel's Avengers, and then that's what's happening.
Yeah,
and everyone's like, surprise Pikachu face, and I'm like, they do it all the time.
Yeah. And so look, Square obviously is heading down a troubling path, even though apparently Final Fantasy 16 is meant to be amazing. We'll see. Forspoken didn't do very well.
But that was because that's a complicated issue.
We're talking just financials.
Yeah.
It didn't live up to what they expected of it. I'm not discussing the game.
Especially since apparently the budget was $100 million for Forspoken. It does not look like $100 million game.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Again, like I'm not talking about the quality of the game itself, but financially it didn't live up to expectations.
Yeah.
Nothing is at the moment. Square's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
And now they're doubling out on NFTs.
They're doing,
which is ridiculous.
Because the old president thought he was a smart galaxy brain guy, and turns out he's not a smart galaxy brain man.
Something funny. Influencer, Twitch streamer, bullshitter, Dr. Disrespect is releasing his own game, which is also NFTs, right?
Yeah, that's garbage.
And he went on talking about how wouldn't it be cool if you got as a loot reward an item worth $100,000? And I'm like, the problem with NFTs is, do people not realize
it's gambling, and
it's gambling? Yes,
it's
but your game's
throwing money in the toilet.
Your game's going to be ruined on day one, instantly. When your game gets hacked, people steal items worth artificially valued at hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they sell them for $50,000, and
it's also not a real game.
No, it's not a real game.
You're not in it to make a real game.
You're making a casino.
You're in it to make money.
So greed gets to the better of these companies, I suppose, right? Or these influencers, streamers, whatever. But they not
Careful,
realize
listeners, we might start talking about Logan Paul again.
No. Prime me up. One of the YouTubers I like, Some Ornery Gamers. His name is Murtaha. And he was tweeting about this issue specifically, and he said the security needed to make sure that all of these NFTs, because how it works in the cryptocurrency is, it's like a transaction ID, it goes from wallet to wallet. It's all meant to be very secure. But the security you would need to properly implement this into a video game where you don't tank the game on day one by something getting stolen or hacked, especially when all the items you're getting have a currency value, a real life currency value, would be in the billions of dollars. Right? You can't afford to have games made this way or run this way.
You'd
have to have a constant security updates that would make the game unplayable.
Well, it's not just that. It's the imagine all the lawsuits that's going to happen when if you invest your money into this game and then you lose it. You know what I mean? It's not going to work. I give it a week.
I unlocked this item, which is worth this much money, but then that guy also unlocked it, even though I was only supposed to.
The whole thing is the item's meant to be unique, right? Yeah. But then it's like, it's just gambling.
The whole NFT thing is so stupid. The whole crypto, bro.
I thought we were over it.
No, we are over it.
The games are made.
Yeah. That's the thing. We are over it. Square Enix is behind.
Yeah. And also, there seems to be a lot of people who are like, you just don't get it, bro. It's technology. It's the future. And
learn your lesson, old man.
Yeah. South Park made an episode about it. You're done.
That's it.
Speaking about, apparently, I haven't watched it yet, but
which
was the latest South Park episode was written by AI?
Oh, the AI episode. Yeah, it was funny.
Was it actually written by AI?
Yeah, it said that the end credits says written by Trey Parker and ChatGPT.
Okay.
It's pretty funny. The end is funny, yeah.
AI.
Well, yeah. I mean, we'll talk about AI maybe
We'll have to
Maybe
devote.
we'll start the show next week. We'll talk about AI.
Yeah, I'm done with that.
Yeah.
Can
Why
we
not?
just end with a hopeful note?
Yes, please. Please do.
So some more interesting information has come out about Final Fantasy 16, which is being developed by Creative Business Unit number 3.
Good old Japan.
Which
they
is
don't have company names. It's Creative Business Unit.
I feel so sorry for those game
Obviously, you can
developers.
tell they're salary men in
The-
cubicles, and that's it.
It's
The
okay.
sweatshop levels of crunch they must be feeling.
That's the business in charge of Final Fantasy 14 Online, which is the best-selling MMO in the world.
Don't call your company Creative Business Unit.
Yeah, it's a dumb idea,
Yeah.
but honest to God, the guy who runs that company, Yoshi P, is like the Hideo Kojima of RPGs and online games.
He is. I'll pay that.
Like Final Fantasy 14 is the best Final Fantasy game made.
Really?
Final
In
Fantasy,
terms of the storytelling.
Is that just a Callum thing?
No,
or is that
no,
like
no,
a
no,
general
no.
consensus?
The storytelling in Shadowbringers and Endwalker expansions are top tier fantasy storytelling generally.
I'm pretty sure we've talked about it before, but for listeners who aren't aware, Final Fantasy 14 bombed on release and it was a terrible time. And then Square Enix gave a guy.
one man.
They gave this guy Naoki Yoshida, whatever his name is. Yoshi P. is
carte
referred to.
blanche to fix it.
They gave him a chance. They were like, "Can you fix it?" And he was, he said,
Was
"I
he the
can fix
original
it."
director?
No.
Okay.
And then
so
he
they
was
brought
like-
him in to fix it.
Well, no, he was like, "I can fix it," and they were like, "Yeah, all right, you get one shot."
And then he
And
completely
he
reinvented
fixed
the
it.
game.
Wow.
And it's now like the best-selling MMO on the world, maybe
Yeah.
close to World of Warcraft. And he did, in fact, live up to what he said. He did, in fact, fix it.
So the business is in trouble, right? He saves the entire business by Final Fantasy 14 profitable.
Oh, it's the only game company that keeping that company afloat.
Yeah, quite literally.
Literally.
So anyway, they're like, we need someone to make 16. You're up, buddy. So the same people making Final Fantasy 14 are now making 16, a single-player game, using the same engine as the online
which is
game.
risky.
It's an
so
older engine now.
But then again, they know the.
But here's
engine
the-
really well.
That's
It's
true.
like-
They're not
they don't have
focusing-
to learn the
They're
new...
not.
Yeah,
So number
yeah,
one, they're not
okay.
focusing on graphics so hard. So the graphics are
That's
still
a
going
good
to look.
thing.
The
Yeah.
graphics are still going to look amazing.
A lot of the problem with games is they
Yeah.
focus too
Yeah.
much on the
So
graphics.
it's an older engine, an older style of graphics. It still looks good.
But an engine they know intimately well.
That's
Yeah.
right. But the interesting thing is, it's not an RPG. So
When Callum told me this before we went
Yeah.
on air, I've never played a Final Fantasy game before because I'm not really into RPGs, especially JRPGs, and
Yeah.
especially MMORPGs.
well, but yeah,
But
Final Fantasy
I'm
hasn't
always
been-
interested in
Yeah.
the franchise.
Yeah,
But it's such a hard franchise to penetrate. One, because of the weird Japanese-ness of it, and two, because of the kind of,
yeah,
they're none of them are connected except for this one and that one's
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
and there's like it goes from 14 to 18 and 12 and
yeah.
so it's like a hard.
Um,
But as soon as Callum said, "Oh, they're making,"
so 15 wasn't an RPG technically, so it's kind of leaning in that direction where they want to penetrate the Western markets a
Yeah.
bit more. So it's an action RPG. So it has more in common with The Witcher than it does.
okay, yeah,
Than it does Final Fantasy 13, for example.
yeah,
But what's interesting is they wanted it to feel like a really great responsive action game. So they brought in like one of the heads who made DMC, or like the reboot for
May.
Devil May Cry.
yeah,
Because they wanted it to have that kind of God of War / Devil May Cry feel to it.
yeah,
And apparently they succeeded. So it's an intuitive
yeah.
action game where you do have RPG elements like spells.
This
and
is Final
abilities.
Fantasy 16.
Yeah,
This is the
16.
new one that's coming.
Yeah, so there's like spells and abilities you can use, and you can summon creatures to help you fight. But it's very much, it's not turn based. It's I'm going to attack, have to dodge, parry, whatever. And it's a return to fantasy storytelling. So Final Fantasy has like split between fantasy and science fiction.
Yeah.
But it's been sci-fi for a very long time. So Creative Business Unit 3, again, Final Fantasy 14.
Sounds dystopian.
Yeah. Final Fantasy 14 Online is famous for straddling the line between fantasy and sci-fi as well.
Yeah.
But they decided they're going to return to the original storytelling style of Final Fantasy, which is about the fantasy crystals and the different jobs and the
Yeah.
summons and that type of thing. And if they bring it right back down to medieval fantasy with these and thous and, princesses in castles and things of that nature, which I'm interested.
Yeah, I'm interested in that.
Because, like I said, they've been science fiction. The standalone games have been science fiction for a long time.
Well, too bad, James, you didn't have a PS5.
Yeah, I bought... So, for listeners, I bought a PS... So, Final Fantasy 16 was supposed to be close to PS5 launch time. and it got delayed. I bought a PS5 for 16.
Yeah.
And it's just coming out this year, apparently.
That's actually another thing that we could go on and on about is like
exclusivity and
well, yeah, but also the fact that I have no interest in. I really want a PS5, but where I'm at, where the games that are coming out, where I'm at, I'm just like,
look, I understand how it comes across. We're simps,
and then.
But my Xbox is too good. I don't need a PlayStation.
Like I said,
I have no time for other consoles.
Also, I refuse to buy a console that's white. It has to be black. Come on,
you
Sony.
Can get black faceplates.
Yeah, I'm not changing faceplates. This isn't Xbox 360. This isn't 2006.
Yeah.
Come on, Sony. Release. Like now, Callum was telling me, now they're already talking about the PS.
Oh, but that's standard.
6.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are they? And then, I've heard rumors they're going to skip the PS 5 Pro and just go straight to the 6.
No pros. We don't need pros.
No, but I'm just kind of like, it's been so many, because of the COVID delayed everything and changed everything.
We're already moving into the next cycle.
Yeah,
this cycle's only just getting started.
Yeah, I feel like we're just getting started, but we're also kind of ending as well. Yeah. And I'm just kind of like,
we're in a weird place.
Maybe I should just skip the PS5. Stick with my Xbox because that's what I'm really into.
Look, I would suggest that.
When the PS6 comes out, I'll reevaluate.
Well, especially for the games you enjoy,
my
PlayStation 6 probably isn't necessary.
Like my PS5 is a paperweight. I'm not going to lie to the audience, to the listeners. It's a paperweight. I bought it for Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah.
I've always maintained that. And with the way this lawsuit's going with... So I made a deal with the universe, right? If Sony thwart the Activision acquisition by Microsoft, I will never...
Did we talk about that?
We have. There's been some updates since we...
I will never purchase another Sony console for the rest of my life. And I'm going to stand by that because honestly...
I
don't want to open myself up to any kind of, libel or whatever. But they're being scum.
Yeah.
You look
allegedly,
at some of the as far as I'm concerned, it's fraud. The reason
we simp for Microsoft is because mostly they seem to be doing pro gamer, consumer
Game
stuff.
Pass has saved me a lot of money at the moment.
Whereas Sony keeps
they're doing everything
all this awful stuff.
Allegedly, the most recent thing is allegedly in one of the meetings between Microsoft, Activision, and Sony. Jim Ryan was recorded as saying, "I don't want a Call of Duty deal. I just don't want you to own it."
And now they're saying
that's bad faith arguing.
Now they're saying stuff like, we don't want a deal because you'll put bugs in Call of Duty, so it won't play.
That's
they're just grasping.
They're making shit up, and I'm like, come on, guys.
Yeah. Well, again, we've definitely talked about this on the show, but okay, so there's 2 outcomes or 3 outcomes. Yeah, either Microsoft buys it, all is well. Microsoft doesn't buy it, either Facebook, Apple, or China-owned Tencent have to buy it because otherwise Activision shuts.
Yeah.
And it's like they're no better. I wouldn't want Facebook, Apple, or all our data harvested by the Chinese government. Yeah, that's not cool.
No.
Or what? You make Microsoft sell Call of Duty, so Sony can then buy Call of Duty and make it PlayStation.
That's probably what they're hoping for.
That's probably what they're hoping for.
Yeah.
And I know it's cynical to think that.
No, but that's what they're doing.
That's probably what they're doing. And everyone else think it's fine.
And they're also doing that if we can't have it, no one can. Yeah. So they're going to make it as hard as possible. Yeah. No, it's just, we talked about I don't like to reward bad behavior.
No, it infuriates me.
And when companies do stuff
vote with your wallet, and at the moment my wallet's happy with its Xbox.
Yeah. I'm sorry for calling them scum, but honest to God,
until The Last of Us 3 comes out on PS7, I'm pretty happy not.
Again, I'm having a good time with the Xbox Series X. Especially financially, things are tough. Yeah. I have no reason to go buy another console.
Especially when they're like $100 a game.
110, 120, 130.
It's ridiculous.
At the moment, all the games I really like to be playing are coming out on Games Pass.
Yeah.
So I'm happy spending $45 every 3 months.
Yeah.
I'll pay that.
I have the Games Pass. This is going to sound dumb on me, but I have the Games Pass points to buy more Games Pass time. I don't bother because the games that I play, I genuinely enjoy. So I'm like, I'll pay.
And you're earning reasonable money now at the moment, which could change in the future. So it might be handy to bank those points up.
And also, you can still play.
In America, you can use those points to buy consoles and controllers and stuff. And if they ever roll that out here, it'd be nice to be able to afford a little bit.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, there was a guy who bought his Xbox Series X just using Games Pass points.
Alpha move.
Yeah, pays to play.
Literally, yeah.
That's another thing that I think that XY, we're championing Microsoft here. That's another thing that I feel like they've always done well. The game, like the achievement
Points.
Yeah, the achievement points. They've always done well on.
The
They've always
reward
handled.
systems, yeah.
They've always handled achievements. I feel like really well on Xbox.
Better than Sony. Yeah,
Better than
Sony
Sony.
trophies have always been
Sony
like
trophies have just
there.
been but it's like achievements are more. They feel more of a part of the core ecosystem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where they're kind of an afterthought. They always have been kind of an afterthought on PlayStation. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel
And it also like when we talk about points and stuff, and it almost sounds like it gets into that NFT predatory kind of loot boxy, but like this is actually pro consumer, pro gamer kind of.
If you do all the challenges, you get the points, which you can use to unlock stuff.
Yeah, and if you play games,
it's keeping you engaged, but it's also
it's not.
You're not spending more money than you would.
You know, it's interesting because there's for about 4 months I was playing Games Pass games almost exclusively, and just by getting the achievements in the Games Pass games, I always earned enough points to renew my Games Pass for free. Always. I wasn't in the positive all the time, so like it would use up all the points that I had. But like, if you are a Games Pass guy and you play Games Pass games reliably, you can earn enough points where you don't have to pay for the subscription. Of course, you do have to spend the time doing that. You
have to stay engaged. Yeah, they keep you engaged. It's part of the strategy. Keep you engaged.
Yeah, but that means you get to play the games for free that they release on Games Pass.
Yeah.
But
we've talked enough about Game Pass.
The best deal in
Listeners
gaming.
are aware that we grovel at the Games Pass all the time.
Please come on the show, Phil.
Yeah.
I reckon that's all the time
Yeah,
we've got
that's
for
enough.
this bonus episode. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back next week. Please like and share the Tuesday Review Facebook page, Instagram, and we still have the Twitter at Tuesday Review AU.
Hopefully not
Much
for
to
long.
James's displeasure.
It will soon be run by Chatbot GPT.
That's
Yeah.
Is that the way we get around it?
Next episode we'll type into ChatGPT.
We'll feed it our reviews.
Write us an episode and we'll
feed it our reviews and be like, how would we feel about this?
Might be funny to have an intro written by ChatGPT.
We'll do that. Yeah.
Adios, cousins.
Adios, cousins.